But for this week, I wanted to give you guys a bonus class, 4 main classes and a bonus class today. And so this is on the power of asking. And I just wanted to reference a great book called Getting the Love You Want by Helen and Harville Hendricks. In that book, you will read that they do something like they make the couples make a list of, I think it's like 25 little dumb but cute things that their partner could do for them. Okay. Make a list of little dumb cute things that their partner could do for them. So this might be, all right, I'd like it if you buy me flowers. I'd like it if you take me out to dinner at least once every 2 weeks. I'd like it if you watch a show with me. I'd like it if you hold my hand sometimes when we're stopped at a red light. I'd like it if you once a week at least share your deep thoughts about the universe with me and what you think the meaning of life is from where you are now. And you go on and on and on down this list, little stuff like stuff that's in the $7 range or something, I don't know, but stuff that's not going to be a big hurdle for your partner to come over. And if I'm remembering right, I think they suggested that you pick like 3 of those a day. That seems high to me right now, but that's what I'm remembering. We'll have to reference that book together. If you have a copy of that and you want to put it in the comments, what the heck they said, let's put it down there. But what I really want to share with you is the result that they report, that for a lot of these clients, the just the practice of first asking for the things that you want and then participating in this acting, choosing on each other's behalf or acting toward that mutual thriving, all of a sudden these relationships that were like bound for disaster, they flopped into the honeymoon phase. Right. So they're there and they're like, oh, they're in love. And they're, wow, I didn't know it could be this beautiful. And all they did was they made a list of stupid little stuff. Have a glass of wine with me sometime before you retreat off to your study. Or have tea with me in the morning 3 times a week, or some just these little things that like don't require a lot, but they have a really big impact. So this is one of the things that influences my understanding behind asking. This is one of the kind of like anecdotal reports of how well that works, is that in this case, they weren't even asking about the problems in the relationship. They weren't going like, well, can you do this to clean this part of the relationship up? They were just creating, oh, there's that theme. I didn't know that it was why I was mentioning that, but the quality of connection changed in the relationship so much that that particular content stopped being as important, right? And this also verified again by my favorite, the Gottman ratio, is that when you're swimming in this field of just like doing little nice stuff for each other, the whole thing feels better. And it's another way that asking for what you want can actually head off like 80% of the conflict. It's really weird. Now you can see this. So we're talking in the terms of intimate relationships. Part of why this is a bonus method, because that only really kind of works in that situation, but you can extrapolate this into relationships with your mom, relationships with your friends. You could do like this technique is kind of for like intimate partnerships, maybe a housemate, maybe a platonic intimacy. This might work really well for, but in coupleships, this where you're committed to each other, right? And so it's like, oh, well, we want the relationship to thrive, do these kind of things. And you'll find that conflict, like the tricky kind, the icky kind, tricky and icky and sticky, is going to arise less when you're in the midst of, you've asked for what you want, and then the other person is spontaneously giving that to you because it's really no trouble to them. And what they found in this work, if I'm remembering it correctly, is that like a lot of those subtle resentments about, oh, they don't love me, they don't ever do anything for me, but like that's just blown out of the water because the person is demonstrating the opposite. The other thing is that the person demonstrating those behaviors also gets happier because we are naturally altruistic and we want to make the other person happy. So this speaks to the power of asking for what you want, because when you let the other person fulfill your values, they remember how fulfilling it is to see you smile, to like, and so the opposite, when we just punish people for not psychically knowing what we want, then mostly what they see is they see your frown, they see you bummed out. They wonder if they're a part of that, but they don't know. When you tell them what they could do to make your life better, then they do it and your life gets better. Everybody gets happier. Super cool. So I want you to check that out. You can play with that here. And what I recommend is, if you're going to do this yourself, don't bother with a list of 25. But if you're in a partnership, maybe start with, I mean, you could do a list of 25 just to have a big number of options for your partner to pull from. Right? I want you to text me midday and tell me that you like me, or something like that. These kind of just little cutesy but mean a lot to you things. So get as big a list as you can possibly, and then just see if you can start doing one of those a day. Start doing one of those a day. Just pick from the list, boom, and all of a sudden you are importing all of this amazing energy into your relationships. So we want to cultivate this type of open-hearted relationship, and one way to do that is actually asking for what we want, letting the other person participate in expressing those values. And you can do this for what's another application, because this is bonus, so I don't have as many specific assignments. I just wanted you to know some cool stuff. You can start becoming a sleuth for what your friends like. Like, I know a couple of my friends like little love note texts. Why? Because they respond really well to that. And so I make sure to pop off a couple little love note texts just every once in a while. And then especially you can start to ask, like, what do your friends want in life? What do they want from others? What do they want from the friendship? Like, you can elicit their asks even while you're doing the work on figuring out your own. When you start sleuthing out what your friends want and need, and when you start opening up yours and sharing that and then letting other people fill your needs, you get to participate in the mutual value generation. And that's the best thing in the world. Okay, last insight from the Hendrixes on our bonus lesson is that, maybe there's two insights. Anyway, usually they would find that one of those partners would have a really hard time doing the list. One partner would go, I've got my 25. Can I do 50? No. And then the other partner would be like, well, I really don't want anything. And I may be remembering this from them or conflating it with some other stuff, but people like myself who have the more avoidant attachment style sometimes have, or people who had an upbringing where wants and asking was no, you were punished for that, may have internalized that process so much to where they think they don't want anything. And I want to let you know, if that's you, or if you're eventually coaching someone like that, that's actually bullshit. If your spiritual system has told you that want is bad or whatever, the only reason you would believe that is if you want something out of your spiritual system. It's totally self-contradictory. It's totally bull. Wants are great because they elicit your core values, and your core values are the best thing in you. They're what cause us to create a more beautiful world together. Yes. So if that's you, you got to buckle through, and you got to, like, okay, you kind of try to warm the mind up, like, well, if they could do anything, if it really wasn't a problem for them and they had an extra $15 and 2 hours and they didn't know what to do, and it would make them feel great to do something nice for you, what could they do? And you're like, maybe bring me a latte. Put that down on the list. You are practicing pulling yourself out of your avoidant attachment style, pulling yourself out of the training that your parents or religious elders or whoever imported into you, and into a paradigm of being able to participate in giving them the gift of giving to you. And so I just wanted to throw this in. This one doesn't have a lot to do with our content for this month, but this is a bonus. This is what I get to do when there's a bonus lesson. Yes. Is to just to think about some of these relationship dynamics, and about asking, and like, oh, when you don't want it, and like, is your asking a burden on them? I want them to travel with me, but blah, blah, blah. It may be that what you want would be the best thing for them, and they don't even know yet. How are we going to get to have those conversations? Well, they can only happen in green light. Those are ones that can only happen in green light. You have to have rapport and like fellow feeling and working toward each other's thriving and all of this kind of stuff. So all the work we've been doing about asking, about learning where your light's on, and then all of last month creating rapport together is actually about how do you get what you want? How do you get your needs met? How do you create the environment for getting your needs met? This rest of this month, we'll be talking about how to make boundaries and stuff like that. But what are boundaries about? They're the no version. They're the anti version about getting what you actually want. Why do you need a boundary? Well, I'm not getting safety. Why do you need a boundary? I'm not getting clarity. Why do you need a boundary? Find what you actually want first, ask for it, and then we'll learn how to ask for it even more strongly when necessary. But you can get a lot of mileage just by asking for what you want. Bonus lesson complete. I hope you enjoy that, and I'm going to see you next week.